Welcome to Independent Thought and Freedom, interview 18. Today, I am delighted to welcome again on my podcast, Professor Kapil Kumar. Last month, we spoke about the tensions between India and Pakistan, two nuclear-armed states in conflict for over 70 years. But today, we're going to speak about the Indian general elections, which just started yesterday. India is the world's largest democracy, the third largest economy, and it is a nuclear power. And this is the largest election in human history. There has never been an election larger than the one that is going on right now in all of human existence. This event should be given much more attention in the international media than it's being given at present. Professor Kapil Kumar is a professor of history and the director at the Center for Freedom Struggle and Diaspora Studies at the Indira Gandhi National Open University in New Delhi, India. Professor Kumar is a staunch Indian nationalist, sometimes controversial in his overturning of dominant assumptions about historical events, challenging the role of Gandhi in the Indian National Congress, and looking at the important part that other revolutionaries have played in India's independence struggles, who did not subscribe to nonviolence and whose role has been written out of history. Today, in this context, I welcome very much Professor Kapil Kumar to discuss these controversial and sensitive issues to help the world understand some of these intricacies about the Indian election. Welcome, Professor Kumar.
Thank you, King. Thank you, King. And I believe it's a good opportunity again to talk to you. It's always a pleasure.
Thank you. Yes, it was a pleasure. Our last discussion was very interesting. You made some excellent points and received a lot of interesting comments about it. It's really important to get these things out in the world. Now, with the Indian elections starting, I think, as I mentioned, I mean, this is the largest election that's ever taken place in human history. It's quite amazing when you think about that.
You can imagine the role Indian Election Commission is playing in this. Right. And all election being held electronically by AVMs.
Okay, so it's all done electronically?
All electronically, and the amount of staff deployed, and elections being held right from, the height of 18,000, 20,000 feet heights.
Right.
To the remote jungles, to the beaches, to the Run of Kutch, in these areas, even where some places, where even the polling parties take them 4-5 days to reach the village,
Right.
To make the people vote, it's something very unique aspect in this regard.
Exactly. I mean, let's even just, before we even talk about the issue, the logistics about this is quite incredible, isn't it, what you're talking about? Because this is like 1 in 8 of the world's population is voting for this. How long is the process? Because it's not like...
Well, the process is now this time, about 40 days.
40 days.
40 days, different states, different places. Somewhere 2 rounds, somewhere 1 round, somewhere 6 rounds, somewhere 7 rounds, like that. Because logistically, for a peaceful conduct and fair conduct of the election commission has to move the paramilitary forces also.
Right.
So there are no disturbances and no ugly incidents and all. So because of that logistics, it has been spread over like that.
Yeah. So, I mean, and what about campaigning? Are parties allowed to campaign during this 40-day period?
You see, it's like the campaigning part is related to every constituency.
Right.
Now, suppose the election first round was yesterday on 11th.
Yes.
In about 91 constituencies. So there the electioneering stopped, 48 hours before,
Right.
So the campaigning goes on, but it's related with the election date in that particular constituency.
So does each constituency have 24 hours to vote?
I think it's about 48 hours after.
48 hours they have.
48 hours after.
I know in the United States they have something called early elections and special elections. People could vote.
No, we don't have anything like that. Only thing we have is the election date that day particular. And the election is open now from say 7:30 in the morning. Till 5 in the evening. But there's another law also that if by 5 in the evening the people are already come in the queue to vote,
Mm-hmm.
so they will be allowed to the vote,
Right,
The
right.
voting may continue till 8 p.m., 9 p.m., whatever it is. But so long, all the people who are in the queue at 5 p.m.,
Yes.
they will be allowed to exercise their vote.
And I think there are over 1 million voting booths, and there's 6
Don't
days.
ask me. I can't remember these kind of logistics which are going on. How many, manpower involved, the money involved from the election commission side, for planning this whole thing, and the planning involved, in this whole aspects related to that for each constituency, then putting them in the AVMs, putting. This time the things which we have is nota also, that if you don't want to give your vote to any of the candidates, you press the nota button,
Right. Oh, so they have nota and none of the above.
Yeah, we have that also. None found suitable, so we put that also, in
Is that
state
new?
elections.
Or has that always been there?
No, it was introduced very recently, since last 1 or 2 elections,
Right. Yeah, because I know in Trinidad and Tobago, people have talked about putting a none of the above option.
Yeah, but that now has started in India,
Wow, very good. And I mean, I was looking at this, and as you were talking about, the planning, the logistics, they have these huge, spreadsheets on what days and where they go and when they're moving the army and when they have to go up to the mountains and all these things. It's very interesting and very complex, a massive exercise. But just, I mean, I don't want to spend too long on it, but I find it so interesting, because apparently, it's not always been like this. I read in 1980 the elections were just 4 days, and I think between 62 and 89 they said it was 4 to 10 days. Elections used to take place.
That's right. You see, there are a number of factors involved in this.
Mm-hmm.
One is that the electorate has increased.
Right.
So what was the electorate population in 62 or in 80s and all? Today it has multiplied tremendously.
Right.
So that is one aspect. And then you see, we have passed through such phases in our electoral history when there used to be booth capturing, some bogus voting going on, all these kind of things. So to ensure that and to check these aspects in a proper deployment of officials and forces over there to check that, this thing has been staggered long now.
Right. Yeah. I was reading about that. That's right. So they make sure that there's no ballot stuffing. Or I guess now with electronic voting, you don't really have ballot stuffing anymore. But I guess those
they don't have that. They don't have that. In fact, it's very interesting that some of the political parties who couldn't do that now have been demanding time and again, and that we should go back to the ballot system. Because.
And so the result. So it's the voting started on the 11th of April. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And I believe the results will be on the 23rd.
23rd. I think by 23rd evening we will get the clear trends, and by 24th the results should be out totally. Because now the counting is very easy with the electronic machines.
Yes.
Because once voting has been done, the machine automatically freezes that.
Right.
So which party has got which vote is not only the machine. So it is only to open the machine, click the buttons, and put the tallies together of different machines.
And nobody finds out beforehand who's winning, who's losing, or anything like that during the 14th.
Well, people make their guesses. And the media has been doing a lot of, post-poll surveys and all. But the Election Commission has done a good thing, that where elections are being held, they are not going to give their post-poll results, unless the entire election process has been completed.
Right. Yeah.
So only what was coming on was guesswork only in terms of predictions of how many seats you will get, how many seats you will get. People talk of different combinations and all. But post-poll, surveys which are there, when they ask the people outside the booths, whom you voted for, that surveys have not been allowed to come out till the entire process of the election is over. And this is again done to maintain the fairness of the election, and that it doesn't influence in other parts, what has happened in one part of the country.
Right. Good. So that itself is a very fascinating thing, and I think it shows, it gives an indication of the type of scale, the complexity, and the importance about this election, not only for India but for the world. For people who may not know anything about it, I'm imagining most people who listen to this will have some idea, but just for thoroughness' sake, the main forces are the BJP and the Congress Party, or are there others forces?
Well, there are some at regional levels,
Mm-hmm.
not at national level. Like in UP, two parties with some other small parties have formed a kind of Mahagathbandhan, they call it, the
Right.
big coalition, that kind of a thing. In some other places, some and all, but at the national level, parties are two only, which is Congress on the one side, BJP on the other side. And that's why the two big coalitions are known as the NDA, National Democratic Alliance,
Mm-hmm.
and the UPA, the other one.
So now,
People's
in the last election, did the BJP get enough votes on its own, or was it the alliance that got enough votes on its own?
No, I think last election results were unexpected,
Mm-hmm.
We knew that the UPA Congress-led alliance will be losing, but we had never expected that the results will be this level, So many votes will come and so many seats will come in that sense.
So was the BJP as a single party?
Single party, they have been able to
Get
maintain
a majority.
Yeah, they were able to get.
And can you put this in the context of India's history, how unusual and important
Well,
that
you see,
result was?
BJP is a party which used to get hardly 2 seats in the 50s in the elections.
Right. So it's been around since the 50s?
And from 2 seats to coming to 270 something seats, is a big march forward during this period. And obviously for that march, it is the Congress who's responsible,
Right. So now the Indian National Congress is the party that led India into independence. It was the party of Gandhi, of Nehru, then Indira Gandhi, and so forth. And it has this whole lineage of Nehru Gandhis that keep continuing. And there are new Gandhis that have come into the election. Priyanka.
Well, I don't want to comment personally or anyone. But it's a very interesting thing, that how people even use fake surnames,
Oh.
Because by any standards, I can't understand how come the Gandhi family uses the name of Gandhi, because we all know how Firoz Gandhi was named Gandhi by Mahatma Gandhi,
That's right. Because it confuses observers from the outside.
No, not at all. You see, let's be very clear on that.
Yes.
Indira Nehru wanted to marry Firoz.
Uh-huh.
And Nehru refused that he won't allow that marriage. So they went to Gandhi.
Yeah.
So Gandhi said that, okay, I'll take you as my adopted son. And you can use my name Gandhi.
Right.
So that's how it became Firoz Gandhi.
Right.
From Firoz Gandhi to Indira Gandhi.
Yeah.
And from Indira Gandhi then to Rajiv Gandhi. And now Rahul Gandhi. And now we have Priyanka Gandhi. Vadera also. In the Congress, family frame to that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a totally different kind of a thing.
And I'll tell you, I don't know if this is a common phenomenon among newly independent countries, but let's say in Trinidad and Tobago, the party that led the country into independence was the PNM, and it was in power for 30 years. It did not lose an election for 30 years. The elections weren't rigged. In Guyana, the party stayed in power for about 30 years or so as well, but they did rig their elections. But in Trinidad, it was free and fair elections, but the opposition was in disarray, and then it's only in the 1980s that the Independence Party lost its place in government, and then since then it's always been changes, and no government has been able to secure 2 consecutive terms since the 80s. I think it's a similar thing that happened in India, isn't it?
Well, you see, in India, it's almost till like 1977. It's uninterrupted rule by the Congress for 30 years. And
how long was it? 30 years? Yeah.
30 years. And then we had the Janata Party in 77.
Right.
But again, it fell in 1980.
Right.
And then from 1980 again to almost 1988.
Mm-hmm.
The Congress ruled another 8 years. And then again, the Congress stages a comeback in 1992, 1992,
Right.
91, 92, 91, 92. And then again remains in power till 96.
Mm-hmm.
And again loses in 96. And again stages a comeback under UPA from 2000, after 2004 May elections.
Yeah.
And remains in power till 2014, 10 years again
Yeah.
more. So it's almost about 60 years, 62, 5 years of Congress rule in the
I think
country.
Canada has an almost similar type of situation where the Liberal Party has been assumed kind of to be the natural party of government, and it is almost always in government. And then sometimes the Conservative Party gets in for a little while, and you think the Liberal Party is dead, but somehow it comes back to life and it stays in for a little while. Then there's corruption or whatever, or people are fed up or whatever it is, they come out and then they revive themselves. It sounds like that's the same thing for the Congress.
See, I'll make a very interesting statement here, that the Indian electorate has never failed. They've always given clear mandates,
Right.
It's basically the leadership which failed the electorate.
Right.
Talking of the previous times,
Yes.
And what were the people's expectations and what was promised to them, what was told to them, what we expected, the kind of development, the kind of defense, all these aspects. And it is for the first time in this time's elections, the foreign policy and India's defense have become major issues.
Right.
Nationalism has become a major issue this time, along with defense and progress and development. These are all interlinked issues now.
And just in terms, again, just of the historical understanding of the elections, there's one point that I'm interested in and then we'll leave this issue, but it's that in Trinidad, for example, and I think this is true in other countries, and I want to know if it's true in India, so when you had this 30-year rule from pre-independence to independence to the first years, there was always a clear majority. But then 1986, when we switched governments for the first time, it was another clear majority, a landslide win. But that coalition fell apart. Then the old party came back. But ever since then, it's always been very slim majorities. Sometimes a minority government, and it's all so. At one time, there was a kind of dominant politics. The people who had a majority, they had the majority in parliament, passed through the legislation. But then since the 90s, everything has always been on a sort of trigger edge, and it's been very rare. Maybe I think only once it happened that's a party had a big majority, but then they fell apart in 2015. So it went from where it was common to have a majority to all of a sudden everything being on a sort of edge and very slim majority.
Well, I'll say I would compare the two countries, because Trinidad's total number of constituencies and the number of voters, I think, will be less than the number of voters in one constituency in India.
Correct.
In one constituency, we have something like 15 lakh voters,
Yes.
Which is almost more than the
1.5 million people.
1.5, the population of Trinidad,
That's right.
So in that sense, I won't make comparisons. But I think this multi-party and too many parties coming out is more related to the power aspects,
Okay.
Rather than at times either on ideology or any principles.
That's right.
But a kind of a power sharing kind of a thing,
Right.
That if I have some followers, so why should I have the power, Why should I rule?
Yeah.
And it's related to so many things. We have had in India so many scams over the years.
Yeah.
And they're being caught and all. So that's how the situations go on into these
But in terms of a single party being able to get a majority, that has not usually been the case. So it's kind of an unusual thing that happened in the last election with the BJP. Is that correct?
Yeah, and not only last general elections, But if you look immediately after that, and even as back till after, even when you see when this demonetization was done and all, so people thought that BJP will lose. It will be badly affected by this, you know.
Right.
But the UP results came, which were astonishing and surprising. I, for one, never believed that BJP will be able to get such a majority in UP elections.
Right.
And
Right.
virtually more than 2/3 of majority in an assembly, state elections, was astonishing. And some citadels falling down, you know, like Tripura had been a citadel of Communist Party,
Right.
Marxist since 1977, and it fell down, you know, like a pack of cards in Tripura.
Yeah.
And
So
though BJP suffered some losses in Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh, and Chhattisgarh recently,
so
but again, the overall voting percentages in that are not a big thing, you know.
right.
Because even in Rajasthan, the BJP is getting just about 100,000, 140,000 votes less than the Congress.
Right.
But the Nota votes were more than 400,000, you know.
Okay.
So which showed more of a resentment of the people against the local BJP leadership there, rather than against their pro-Congress thing over
Right.
there.
Right.
And because of that nota, it was Congress which was able to win the elections, which we feel this time is going to be a different case for the national elections. In this
All right.
sense.
So in terms of, I mean, so in terms of the international view, because I do want to get into the national issues as well, what it means for India, but I mean, we can't avoid this question about the BJP being called by the international media very regularly fascist, right? So there are people like, you know, I was looking at an Al Jazeera report.
You see,
And
I have been following
they're
some of
saying
these
that,
reports. It's very interesting. You
yes,
know, it's like the First World War.
yes,
So long Hitler didn't attack Soviet Union, he was
hmm,
not a fascist.
that's right.
But when he attacked Soviet Union, so he became a fascist. You know. So you see, without understanding and just by projection, I start saying so and so is a fascist, so and so is this, so and so is that. I'll not agree with that.
That's
At
right.
certain times, the kind of propaganda which the media carries out. Now, no sympathy for any, warmonger or any terrorist and all. But you look at the way Saddam Hussein was projected. That he is having his nuclear army, he has hidden gas chamber, war gases and all those things. Nothing was found.
Yeah.
So it's very easy if something doesn't suit your politics. And I'm very sorry to say this, that today even everything has become marketing, paid marketing.
Yes.
Now, how many journalists are there, or how many channels are there, or how many newspapers are there? I'll give you an example. There's some journal in America which published that the F-16 was not shot by the Indian Air Force.
Right.
And they didn't quote any American government source.
Right.
And the media in India picked that up
Yeah.
and started questioning that.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Indian Air Force Vice Air Marshal came. He showed the radar screens. He showed how these three planes had taken off from where they were flying, where from our plane took over, how the air battle went on. All those things went into that.
Yeah.
So by mere projecting certain things,
Yeah.
it's very easy that you may call BJP a fascist. Like, tell me one thing. Why don't they call Congress a fascist?
Mm-hmm.
Because in Congress, no one other than that, within quotes, Gandhi family can be the Congress president.
Yes. Exactly.
You tell me. And it's a monarchy. What are their qualifications?
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, I may be 100 times more qualified, but I'm not born into that so-called Gandhi family. So I won't have a following.
Yes.
I very strongly attack this media in the West, which calls BJP a fascist.
Yeah.
They don't know the functioning. They haven't seen the functioning. And they, in fact, on the other hand, I'll say that there's a lot of delays in certain things in India of over-democratization,
Yes.
Because I've seen this happening in the Congress regimes and all, or even when the CPI, Communist Party aligning with Congress, appoint this one here, appoint this one here, appoint this one here, decide it. Here there are views and differences within BJP in such things, and they debate over it, and then they go for decision making rather than this kind of a thing which is being projected into that it's not democratic. And I can't understand that also, that a political party whose leader had imposed emergency in India, killed all the civil liberties, killed all the rights of the people, put people behind the bars. There was nothing then the Rowlatt Act of the British did in 1919. Incidentally, tomorrow happens to be the Jallianwala Bagh tragedy's 100 years.
Yes.
And all. And that party is not fascist.
Which is the Congress party you're talking about.
Which is a Congress party. That is not fascist. The communists are not fascists, where there are no elections and nothing. That is only the Politburo and all, once the dictators are out over there. So I don't agree with this game, which goes on. And I'll tell you Western press, biases. 2 days back only in Canada, some conference was held at an Islamic center, which called Hindu gods, Shiva, Vishnu, and others, rapists.
Right.
Has the Western press condemned that?
Exactly.
When they say secular, and when they say that they treat everyone else. Now, where is this liberal Western press, I'll give you other examples in that regard. The bias is showing into that. China. In UN, they support the terrorist.
Yeah.
Very pally with Pakistan, who talks of Islamic things and all. And what has China done itself to Muslims in China? They don't even allow azan. They don't allow you to keep a beard. They don't allow you loudspeakers on mosque and all those things in China. So what is this game?
Yeah.
In this kind of a situation. And one more thing. I want to say one more thing here, who call us fascists. Please don't forget that in 1970-71, how many Muslim Bengalis were shot and killed and raped by the Pakistani forces there in East Pakistan? I want an answer to that. I want an answer to this, that how many Afghan Muslims were killed by Pakistani forces and the Taliban? And I want an answer to this, how many Balochs are killed every day in Pakistan? Aren't they Muslims? People talk of minority rights, and this Western press is projecting that in India, the minorities are in danger and minorities are living under threats. And some of the minority leaders, just because of votes, make those statements. Are Baba, had India been dictatorship and had India been fascist, how come you are allowed to speak so freely and so openly what you are speaking over here?
Yeah.
What is the condition of minorities in Pakistan? How do they treat Shias? How do they treat Ahmadiyyas? How do they treat Sufis? How do they treat Christians? How do they treat Hindus? Over there, the Western press is absolutely silent.
That's right.
And there are reasons for that, that why the Western press is being taking an anti-India stance. There are definite reasons behind it. And I know the reasons, what the reasons are in that sense. Today, India is an emerging power.
Yeah.
As you yourself said, third largest economy.
Yeah.
Not only largest economy, today India is a satellite power.
Yes. A
power in the space. A space power. Now, one China from the Orient, which emerged as a strong power, the West could not tolerate that. And if India emerges again as a strong economic power, a strong economy, along with its defenses, what will be the fate of certain other economies? Though there is a difference between Chinese approach and our approach.
That's right. Very different.
We don't do aggressive economics. We don't do aggressive economics. We're not doing that. We are not keeping our eyes on the boundaries of any neighbors. Ours is not an aggressive policy, even in terms of boundaries. Ours is a defensive policies. We are happy within our boundaries. Please don't disturb us. Don't touch us. If you touch us, now you will get it back.
Right.
Because there has been a tremendous shift in India's policy in the last 5 years, where it is that economic development has to be backed by defense development also.
Right.
Otherwise, and history teaches us this lesson. We were a golden bird at a time. We had all the riches of the world.
Yes.
Before the Industrial Revolution,
Yeah.
we stood economically in the world. And what happened?
I think India accounted for about 25% of the world's
I'm
manufacturing up
telling you.
until.
And what happened? We lacked in two things. We didn't pay heed to our defenses.
Mm-hmm.
And there was some disunity.
Yeah.
Which made us slaves.
Yeah.
So today it is not 10th, 13th, 15th or 17th century.
Yeah, see, the East India Company deindustrialized India. Yeah.
It not only deindustrialized.
Yeah.
Just look at the massacres in India.
Exactly.
You look at the massacres in India.
They violently did so. They violently.
And not only that, they were knowing that they are confronting a civilized country here. And they had to fight civilized people. And that's why they ought to destroy whatever was Indian, whether it was science, medicine, education, festivals, traditions. Destroy that and say there is no country like India. So it's a long debate. I don't want to go into that.
Yeah.
But what I say is that once the way India emerges strong, one of the reasons for partition at that time by the British was they knew that if there is no partition and this whole big country is given independence, how strong that country would be. Right. Imagine the amount.
Exactly, because I was looking at some of the economic things here. Okay, so in the South Asian region, if you include Afghanistan, Bangladesh, Bhutan, India, Maldives, Nepal, Pakistan, and Sri Lanka, if you include all that area as South Asia, which the World Bank and these institutions do, right? So it has a population of 1.6 billion people. Which is, I'm trying to think, that might be about 1/6 of the world or so. And then, that area has a growth of 7.1% over the last decade, which is a massive, massive economic growth. Yet, the whole area has it's the least integrated region in the world. Inter-regional trade only accounts for 5% of the total trade in the region, compared to, say, 25% in Southeast Asia with Singapore, Malaysia, Indonesia. So, and the investment between the areas is smaller than 1% of overall investment. In fact,
I'm very bad at...
one more stat. They said it's 20% cheaper for India to trade with Brazil than it is with its neighbor Pakistan. So imagine if it already has a 7.1% growth. Imagine if trade and investment were freed up along these borders, and India is already the third largest economy in the world now.
See, Kirk, I'm very bad at economic figures, but I go more by my commonsensical knowledge.
Yes.
You see, the latest policy shift in India, go east. And the whole plan to connect India through highways right up to Singapore,
right,
and Malaysia.
Is that part of the Belt and Road Initiative or something different?
That's what is coming up,
Yes.
That right from India to Bangladesh, Burma, Thailand, and these countries. So, and to encourage open routes and trades and open accessibility. What it is going to be, and that has created flutters in certain places. What it's going to be. Another thing is opening back the Indian river routes.
Yes.
At a time, the steamer used to come right up to Allahabad and Kanpur, in the Ganges.
Yes.
Which was done away with now. Mm-hmm. Again, that thing being built up, in those terms.
Yes.
The rising middle class in India. The number, you can go in the percentage is 7 point something for economy, and middle class is, I think, 35% or something, growing up into that sense.
Yeah.
Besides that, the tremendous confidence among the Indian youth.
Yes.
In terms of entrepreneurship, in terms of service, whether it is engineering, whether it is medicine, whether it is scientists, whether it is management, whether it is financial services, hospitality, tourism, the way the Indian youth is coming up. And a major thing coming up in Indian youth is now that we don't want to live on doldrums. given by the government. Give us facilities so that we establish our own enterprises. And one of the slogans has been in India that instead of going for a job, asking for a job or begging for a job, you yourself become an employer provider.
That's right. That has to
There are certain banking policies which have been introduced. You can get loans up to 10 million, 100 million, like that. You can establish your own businesses. You employ people instead of you getting searching and looking. And these are improving. There are certain aspects in India which definitely need better attention, like the peasants and farmers thing. And that is happening. You see, highways are deploying. What they need is good access to the markets.
Yes.
And things are coming. You can't, overnight change in 2 years or 3 years something which has been lagging there for so long. I have been to the villages very recently, some of the villages. I was trying to do my own surveys. And I find these villagers saying, we had never seen electricity. Today we have electricity.
Yeah.
We had not seen the gas cylinder. We have the gas cylinder today. And mind it, the biggest, I think it is the largest health scheme in the world which no country can match. That you register yourself and like up to 50,000 TD, you can get a free medical treatment.
Right.
In government hospitals. And poor people who were suffering from cancer-like diseases, strokes, other things and all, they are getting their treatment done free.
Yeah.
So things are moving. It is not that India is like those Snake Charmers country and all that.
Oh yes, yes. I mean, India is it's growing faster than China. I mean, and it's already reached number 3 in the world. So I mean,
there is one more slight difference I'll point out between us and China.
Yeah.
See, we are a democratic country.
That's correct.
So in that case, decision making is slightly slower in a democratic country compared to a country which is ruled by one party, and the party's dictator or leader can decide something and it is immediately implemented.
Right. Exactly.
So that is why when people start comparing India with China, I always say India should never compete with China. We should look at our own, what we are doing, where are we going, where are we moving to.
Yeah.
Because labor laws and all in China, in India we have such secure labor laws when you compare to China. So the cost of production naturally in India would be higher than in China.
Yeah. I mean, it's a very different culture. It's a very different sociology. It's extremely, extremely different between India and China. And I mean, it's two different systems. And I don't think it's fruitful to try to compare them in that way at all, But
the best.
I want to put it back into this, to the global understanding as well, just to sort of finish off with this point, because what especially the liberal media of the world, like The Economist, the BBC, you might see this in the New York Times, right? So they are spinning this narrative that under the BJP, Hindus, and Al Jazeera, I saw this in Al Jazeera too, so that India is becoming a majoritarian state, and that they will be oppressing minorities, and that there was this Facebook list where people were telling others, Hindus were saying they should hunt down Muslims who are trying to do a love jihad against Hindu girls, and they point to cow slaughter. I'm
fully aware of these things. Now let me put it 2-3 points in this regard for the international audiences and those who, you see, first is when you use this term, the liberal press in Europe, I very strongly object to that.
Yeah.
They are liberal when it comes to serving their own interests.
That's right.
Tell me, did the Al Jazeera ever report the atrocities committed on the Yazdis in Syria by Baghdadi and ISIS?
Exactly.
How much this so-called damn liberal press of Europe has supported the cause of those Yazdis whose women in 21st century were sold naked as slaves, as sex slaves in the markets in Syria.
Yeah.
So they call themselves liberal press. Selectively they pick up and they do these things.
That's right.
Which suits them, they will convert it into liberal. Which doesn't suit them, they will convert it into a fascist or a dictatorship.
That is
Let
right.
them have one criteria for describing the liberals, for describing humanism. I'm all for it.
Exactly.
I'll support them.
Exactly.
But tell me one thing, they will pick up the Rohingyas issues.
That's right.
Doesn't the press know one thing? And these legal luminaries who hide themselves behind this mask of humanitarian laws and all these things and human rights, that there is a difference between an intruder, a refugee, and a migrant.
Mm-hmm.
It can't be that you intrude into a country, and if you are caught, then you say, I'm a refugee.
Yes.
Or I'm a migrant. To have a refugee status, UN has declared certain laws agreed by all countries of the world. They will shout for Rohingyas.
Mm-hmm.
Internationally, this so-called liberal press, tell me how many of them are shouting for they talk of Syrians and all other places, even taking ISIS people as refugees in Europe. How many of them have taken Yazdis as that? How many have taken the Shias as that, who are thrown out? How many have taken as Ahmadiyas as that?
Yeah.
As refugees over there. So this mask which people sometimes wear of liberalism,
exactly.
and when
exactly. I mean, I've seen them even talk about the Ayodhya issue as Hindus wanting to build a temple on the site of a medieval mosque.
Tell me one thing, sir. Tell me one thing, sir. I want to ask this question to them. I want to ask a question to them. Someone invades your house, okay, and breaks something in your house, throws you out of the house, and tomorrow if I claim that this was my house, it should be given back to me, I'm a fascist.
Exactly. I know.
I'm a fascist.
Yeah.
They say that the mosque was built there. What was there earlier?
Exactly.
Their own thing. Excavations have proved that there was a temple there.
Exactly.
And who will decide the land rights over there?
Exactly.
The land right of the ancient time? A grant? Or a grant given by Babar?
Yeah.
Or the British laws?
Yeah.
And I tell you, this issue was settled way back in 1857. It was settled. There were two persons, one Pandit and one Maulvi, in Ayodhya itself, who were fighting the British together.
Right.
I can just forgetting the names. Ali is one and the other is Pandit Ram Prasad or something.
Yeah.
And they said, we are fighting the British together. We should not fight among ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And in a very emotional speech, the Muslims permitted that Ram temple be built here.
Right.
But in between the British came, and both these persons were hanged by the British right in front of that area.
Right.
On a hillock. So it's very easy to say that tell me one, how many of them protested when Baghdadi destroyed the heritage in Syria or Iraq, destroyed the museums over there?
Yeah.
Balian?
Mm-hmm.
So this kind of a thing, and I'm sorry to say one thing, I have seen in the Western world churches which were converted into mosques,
yes,
then reconverted into churches, then mosque, then churches. Siracusa.
Yeah. And then
even in so England, what do you have to will they justify that those churches in the Western world which had been converted into mosques at a time was okay? Or now if later on they were converted again back to churches, was it okay? So they can't take just one-sided approach in this matter. Look at holistically at the things and all. There's a certain amount of faith also. As I said today, anyone can come and abuse Hinduism for anything. You can use Hindu gods on the sleepers as advertisement, on bottles and advertisements. You can say they were rapists. Do it to some of the other religions. We have seen in Kerala, hands cut off a Christian by the Islamic fundamentalists.
Yeah.
This Christian teacher had asked some question in an examination and his hands were chopped off. Why didn't the Western press report that?
Yeah. And what goes on in Saudi Arabia daily and
See, my dear king, this is all money today.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Where you get money from? The advertisement rates of some channels I find during the elections, they go up.
Yeah.
They double and triple and all that. And as far as the Facebook thing you were saying, I have one question to Facebook and Twitter both.
Mm-hmm.
If you really genuinely want to be honest players, why don't you take for ID proof of a person who opens an account on Facebook or Twitter?
Right. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Take their ID proof and allow. And this nonsense will go away.
Yes.
Fake IDs, fake proofs. I know of companies running these businesses.
Yeah.
How many likes you want on your tweets? How many retweets you want? They're charging money for that.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that's
Simple
right.
answer.
That's right.
Simple answer.
They do.
Let the Facebook and all these social media sites,
Mm-hmm.
let them if they want to be healthy players. You see, today they are fooling the third world.
Yeah.
And when it will come to them, then they will realize.
That's right.
If I start writing, I was banned on Twitter for a
Mm-hmm.
week. I posted something which was already in the social media. It didn't suit someone in the Twitter. The Twitter chief comes to India and sides with a particular groups, get themselves photographed. It's all money game.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and so
There's nothing to do with the reality or sentiments and all these things.
now
Why don't you stop those tweets or those Facebook sites which use abusive language?
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, it is clear that Facebook, Twitter, the media are
These
totally
are businesses,
politicized.
sir. These are businesses. You call them social media.
Yeah,
They're all
they're
businesses.
totally politicized. They push agendas. It's very clear, especially it's always been like that, but it's been especially so since Trump was elected. It's been.
No, I will say something
Yeah.
that there has been a tremendous fall in the ethics of journalism.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
I can't use this word anymore now. Journalistic ethics.
Yeah. They
Debated sometime in 60s or 70s or 80s.
I really think it comes down to the teaching of postmodernism in universities. Because at universities where all these journalists are educated, postmodernism has become the sort of de facto epistemology or ontology, that there is no such thing as truth, there is only power. This is what postmodernism teaches, and they believe it. And so they believe that your words are there only to serve power agendas, and they all have a political agenda they want to push, and they do it shamelessly without, they only see it as tools to advance political agendas. And this is what is being taught at universities.
Definitely. You see, what are the universities today?
Mm-hmm.
The privatization of higher education is again a money game.
Mm-hmm.
Many economies of the education system are bent upon student and income only.
That's right.
Education is a commodity.
That's right. And when
it is no more a learning.
That's right.
It is no more knowledge. It's a commodity.
Yeah.
You pay this much and you take admission. That's what they're doing.
But what I think this points to is there's been a sort of nationalist, in my view, around the world, a nationalist pushback against the sort of globalization and controlled by a global elite. And in different countries around the world, whether it be in Italy, whether it be in Russia, whether it be in Hungary, whether it be in India, in the Philippines, in other places, there's been this pushback against that. And the liberal media, this global media, which is very much tied into the global elite tied in with the UN and all these agencies, have been extremely hostile. And so to me, in that global context, I see the BJP, this election with the BJP versus the Congress, I see the Congress as being part of the kind of globalist agenda, where it's a Western-dominated system with the IMF and World Bank and Wall Street and the City of London controlling the economies and all the Western MNCs, that system, which is falling apart and being resisted, I believe that this election is important in that context, and that a lot of the media reporting is instinctively against that, because they're linking it to Trump, they're linking it to what's happening in Italy, what they're calling fascism abroad, because they're calling all these people, all these countries fascists. Do you agree that that's a global, would you agree that's a proper understanding?
Tell me one thing. Which country in the world today, whether it is US, or whether it is England, or whether it is France, or whether it is China, or Japan, or India, has kept globalization above its national interests?
That's right.
Name me a single country.
Yeah.
So this is shit when we talk of, in the name of globalization, we want to control others as per our dominant national interests.
That's right.
You hit a multinational, and where that multinational is housed and having its headquarters, that country will start shouting.
Mm-hmm.
No, don't put taxes on that, give them free access, don't put so many duties on that and all that aspects. I need this answer from this liberal press and all. Because they shout globalization, globalization. But which country in the world keeps the global interests above their national interests? Whether it is environment, whether it is economy, whether it is human rights. Name me an area.
Well,
or defense.
Yeah. What's been happening is that
and if Indians do that, that we are tying our national interests.
Yeah. But
with our global development. We Indians have become fascists.
Mm-hmm. That's right. But political
we have never gone and attacked any country.
Yeah, political elites around the world have been selling out their populations. Have been selling out.
They run their. You see, the political elite, and particularly our academic elite, they run their shops like this. If they don't make absurd statements, they won't make news. We have many such characters in India who make such statements only to remain in media. And everyone will be after that, because media today wants sensation. They want sensational stories. They'll run after that. So I don't agree with this question that you single out a country, any country, even Pakistan. If they want to have their defenses in relation to national interest, they have a right to do. So do I have in India to protect myself. And so does any country in the world. But you can't say that I'll be the dad of the world. You can't do it. The most beautiful thing happened to India in the last 5 years is that today India is speaking at equal terms with any power in the world.
Now, let me ask you about.
We have to buy something which suits our national interest. We buy it from France. If it suits us, we buy it from America. If it suits us, we buy it from Russia. It suits us, we do. Something from Iran, we'll get oil from Iran. Why should not we get it?
Yeah. And Israel, I see.
So it is the Indian national interest in relation to the global relations, and we are on friendly relations. We're not going hostile to either Russia or America, and even China. We tried our best.
Yeah.
You see, even people talk of Pakistan. You talk with Pakistan. You talk with Pakistan. Didn't we? Our Prime Minister went out of the way for a stop in Islamabad at Nawaz Sharif's some daughter's wedding or something.
Yes.
Out of protocol, he did that to improve relations. Not only that, we called our enemy, interstate intelligence of Pakistan, when Pathankot took place. Come and see for yourself what the terrorists sent by you have done. We tried. And then we answered. And the fools today say, when we try, why did you try? Why did the Prime Minister stop over there in Pakistan?
Yeah.
Why did you call the ISI? And when we don't talk, you are not talking.
Yeah.
You're not talking. You can't have both ways. There is a very interesting Hindi saying from my area, which says, "Chit bhi meri, pat bhi meri, anti mere baba ki." This side of the coin is mine, other side of coin is also mine, and the full coin is also mine.
Yeah.
You can't have it every time.
Yeah.
Your own way. You have to look at things. And the worst thing has become in the modern media today is that people who don't even know ABC of certain strategic things in diplomacy, defense, economy. This media has made them experts. The funniest thing I saw in a media channel once was that there was an earthquake, and this media operator put the mic in front of an 8-year-old boy and asked a question: "Have you seen such an earthquake in your life?" That's what media is doing. They're experts on everything.
Yes, yes.
There was a time when in media, I remember those times, that even the reporters who had the beats, that someone is on the education beat, someone is on the beat of scientific ministry, someone is on the cultural ministry, there used to be highly knowledgeable, experienced reporters doing it.
That's right. That's right.
Today, if you can just speak good English, because you have to pay them less than paying it to a professional who will do a better job.
Yeah.
You do it, go and carry out a sensational story.
Yeah. Now, so let's bring it down to India, because I've been trying to put it in the international context mostly. But what would you say? What are the main issues that for India? What are the main issues for India, let's say, and for Indian voters, and what are the things there? Because I'm looking at it from the outside, but what are the debates?
You see, there are 2-3 things mainly in these elections. Firstly, for the first time, the issue of nationalism, defense, and patriotism has become a major issue in this election.
Right.
It would not have been that had some people and some political parties not acted foolishly, doubting the Indian Armed Forces, doubting the Indian Air Force, or doubting the Indian leadership in matters of defense.
Right.
And this Indian people are not going to tolerate.
Right.
A question.
So let me get this clear. So after the bombing in Kashmir, and
No. This has started much earlier.
Okay.
It started much earlier. You see, we had some Congress leaders like Sandeep Dikshit who called the army chief a goon. We had people like Manishankar Iyer who went to Pakistan and said, "Help us in removing Modi."
Now, when did these things happen? Just
Oh, this is happening just for the last 2-3 years, you know.
Okay, all right.
It's been happening, you know,
Yeah.
because they're out from power.
Yeah.
They are dying like anything. And it's very interesting to see in this election that the people, let me tell you, the Indian voter is very sensible.
Mm-hmm.
The other day I was on a TV debate, and there was a gentleman with me, Maulana Sahab. He started shouting. No one is talking development, no one is talking development or the peasant or employment and all that. Everyone is talking religion and religion and religion. I asked this gentleman a question. I said, "Look, you go for Hajj to Saudi Arabia." He said, "Yes." I said, "You do a very good job. Because any religion has to be preserved and followed. Because if there is no religion, then values will go out."
Yeah.
But I said, "Have you ever tried to explore that how much the Hajj pilgrimage to Saudi Arabia contributes to the economy of Saudi Arabia?"
Mm-hmm.
I said, Ajmer Sharif is there. If Dargah Ajmer Sharif is not there, what will be the economy of that township? If Tirupati is there, or Vaishno Devi Katra is there. And I said, remember one thing. India is one country in where religion is the biggest employer.
Yes.
Right from a peasant growing flowers to a 5-star hotel.
Yeah.
The industries, I told him. I said, we had the brass industry in Moradabad, very famous world over. Today, no one buys brass utensils. And how that industry has survived and the common artisan has survived, it is because of the brass idols being made in the name of religion.
Right.
So, don't just condemn without thinking those things.
Right.
Don't put it that way. Let's have a holistic view of things.
I'll tell you some of the issues that I've seen in looking at the press that appear to be, on the voters' mind, at least in the media. Things like the job situation. People have said there's a lot of economic growth, but it's not had the amount of job creation to keep up with population growth, and that might be an issue. People talking about farmers and debt, and how demonetization of taking away the larger denominated bills may have hurt the cash economy of the farmers. So these sort of, and then of course, people talk about the religious issues as well. So these are the things that I have seen.
Let me get start with the first thing of peasant.
Yes.
Because I have my own thesis on peasant movements.
Right.
And that's the area I specialize. What happened after independence? You said we abolished landlordism, zamindari.
Mm-hmm.
It was abolished on paper. Was it done actually on the ground?
Right.
One. Second thing.
The zamindars are like the feudal lords.
Second thing. You said we will give land to the landless, mainly Dalits. How much you distributed? 1 acre of land. Let any economist in the world tell me that 1 acre of land is an economically viable holding for a peasant. On the contrary, by doing that, you made that peasant dependent more on the moneylender.
Right.
Okay. You said we'll make houses for the poor. Fine, very good thing. Should be done. Then why only a one-room house for the Dalit and the poor? For the whole family, one room. Why not a 2-bedroom house? Or why not a 2-room house? What are you trying to do? Fool the people. And the people get fooled. And now the people are realizing this. I have seen this happening in the villages this time. People are saying, we are not beggars. Don't give us that I'll give you 20,000 or 72,000 in a year and all that. Give us the infrastructure and facilities.
Right.
And we'll work it out ourselves. We'll work it out. You see, there's a multiplier effect in the economy.
Yeah.
I don't know from where these figures are coming of unemployment and all those things. I give very crude examples of the multiplier effect. Very common in India. You open a liquor shop. Next day, you'll find a person sitting next to it with a big mud pot with water and sunglasses. The next day, you will find a person there with snacks.
Yeah.
The third day, a small hotel will open nearby. No one is seeing that.
Mm-hmm.
So, yes, there has been a problem in relation to government jobs. I know in my universities in the country, there are so many thousands of positions lying vacant that couldn't be fulfilled. But there are different reasons for that. Someone went to court in terms of reservation. The court stayed. Somewhere something else happened. But this kind of a thing, tell me one thing, if there is unemployment, how is the economy going up?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How is the middle class increasing at that pace of level? Other things which has happened, I'll narrate to you some very interesting incidents during the service which I was doing. There was this taxi driver. I asked him, whom are you going to vote for? And he said, Modi. I said, why? What has Modi done for you? He said, no, I am a taxi driver. I'll remain a taxi driver. But after demonetizing and making business transactions compulsory through the bank, now all those who used to steal the taxes from the government will have to pay it. And that money will go to development purposes. I saluted him. Okay, this is the level of Indian voter now. At that level, they are coming up. Just demonetization did create some problems that day, that particular time. But tell me, Kirk, if you do have to do some surgery to bring out a cancer, you can't bring out a cancer unless you cut the stomach. We're inside the cancer.
And that was
So that pain will be there. I accept that pain will be there.
Yeah.
I accept that there could have been better measures tried, that pain would not be there. But maybe to keep it a secret thing also. Because if you do it without secrecy,
yeah,
then things would have been different.
Right. You know, there's one international issue I forgot to ask you about, and then I'll get back to the politics within India. But it's an important one, which is the idea with the Pakistan-India relationship and the potential for nuclear war. Because because it's being interpreted by the outside world that the BJP is an aggressive government, and that if they get elected, tensions will be rising and the world will be that much closer to nuclear war. And the Congress party is seen as more of a dovish party and would be seeking more peace with Pakistan, and the threat of nuclear confrontation would lessen. Do you agree with that analysis?
Two very interesting things. Yesterday was our election, first phase day. And one day before the elections, Imran Khan gives a statement. I would like Modi to win, because the chances of a peaceful settlement with the rightist party are much more than with the Congress party. And immediately these Congress party and all jumped. There seems it's a tie-up between Modi and Imran Khan that they're doing it. And he's saying that.
Oh, wow, I didn't know he said that. I have to look that up.
That's very interesting. It's not, the case is not that. Pakistan had been testing India's patience, in which I have no hesitation in saying that some of the previous governments didn't have the guts to act. When Mumbai attacks took place in 2008, the Indian Air Force gave a scheme to retaliate, which was overruled by Manmohan Singh government. The difference is, now the army was given a free hand. You retaliate the way you want to do. So in this punch, India has told Pakistan, okay, look, this thing of nuclear threat power will not work with us. They were trying that.
Yeah.
Many statements. India never made a statement that we'll use atom bombs on you. Mind it. It was the Pakistani foreign ministers or generals and all,
yes,
and some terrorists there who have been saying, okay, we have the atom bomb, we have the atom bomb, we have the atom bomb, we can use it and all that. So the Indian response was, try it. We don't want that.
Yeah.
And they also know pretty well that any place which they can use the atom bomb on India, if they use it there, half of their country will be affected.
Yeah. Because it's so close.
So this blackmailing thing, what does India want from Pakistan, you tell me? We are asking one thing only. Stop breeding terrorists. Stop training terrorists. That's all. And you have seen what they have done. Has the Western world and this liberal press forgotten that where Bin Laden was sheltered for so many years?
Exactly.
Who's supporting the Taliban right now? Have they forgotten that? So, we are there for friendship. We are there for peace. And I can say this as a citizen, we, because I know my government is. My people are. We want a friendly relationship. But the question is with whom? At least our army doesn't control the government.
Yeah.
In a democracy, I must salute the Indian army for always being under the democratic government. Pakistan, it's the other way around. It is the democratic government under the army. And let the army have some sense there. You know very well, you can't win wars with India. You can't compete with India. Air, land, or sea, whatever you want to do. Why are you breeding terrorists?
Yeah. You know, I want to bring back to the conversation back to the politics, and we'll get to another military situation that I want to ask you about. But I want to start it off from the local politics. Now, our conversation here, we are not neutral observers in this, right? I mean, you know, we have our positions, and there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not trying to pretend to be a neutral observer. Well, I'm trying to be objective and fair, but that doesn't necessarily mean neutrality.
Well, I'm trying to be as objective in my answers, you know.
Exactly.
I'm not trying to give any biased answers in that sense.
So obviously you are partial towards the BJP. That's fine, and you give your reasons, and that's fine.
No, there are reasons for me.
Are you a member?
There are reasons. Listen 1 minute.
Yeah.
I'm not a BJP member.
Okay. Right.
Okay. There are reasons for my supporting Modi.
Right.
In the government. That first time here is a person who comes from an humble origin.
Right.
Who doesn't come from the silver spoon-fed elite.
Yes.
Who, after having riches and riches, still do scams.
Yes.
And make more money and more money. I don't know in which grave they will keep those monies.
That's right.
Here's an ordinary man who has experienced the poverty of an ordinary man.
Yeah, he used to serve tea for people who don't know abroad. Yeah.
Secondly, this man has no axe to grind for his family to make riches and wealth for their family.
Yes.
Thirdly, he is firm in decision making. He has been firm in decision making.
Yeah.
You may agree with the decision or not.
Right.
But he has taken some initiatives.
Right.
In relation to India. He has not sat like a puppet prime minister, which we had for 10 years.
So let me ask you another question. Why haven't you joined the BJP?
No, I'm quite independent, you see. I told you I had left CPM long back in 96.
Right. Because, right. So
and I didn't join any political party because I was doing my academics, my work and all that, and I expressed my views freely.
Right.
And since I was not going into politics, people ask me, why don't you contest election? Why don't you go for that and all this? So I'm not going into politics because I realize politics is not my cup of tea.
Right. And you want to reserve your right, presumably, to criticize when you want to criticize. Is
Definitely. Why not? You see, let me tell you. As you said it, I have a lot of pride in saying this, that I'm a nationalist.
Yes.
I am for the country. And if the country suffers out of some policies, whichever party it might be, I'll be critical.
Right.
I'll be critical of that. I'm not tied up. But the way I see things at the moment, when I make the comparisons and all, I realize that if these Ma Gathbandhan and all these people come, who are these people?
Mm-hmm.
Rajiv Gandhi on bail in National Herald case. Sonia Gandhi on bail in National Herald case. Chidambaram on bail. Mamta Banerjee supporting the chit fund big scam over there. All the scamsters over there. Lalu Yadav ji already in jail in the Chara scam. So what is being talked about in terms of these aspects? And I see in these elections, and the way people are looking at it now is that on the one hand, all these people who have had cases against them and all that, they have combined together as a fight to save themselves.
Right.
You bring in caste issues, you bring in religious issues. Look at this nonsense.
Right.
One leader is openly asking a community to vote for her.
Yes.
That is not communalism. But if some Hindu had said it, that is communalism.
That's right. Now let me ask you about your own sort of political journey, because it's interesting for people outside.
I think I told you last time.
Yeah, but yeah. So I won't ask it from so much of a personal issue as much as what it means for Indian politics, because you were a communist. in the Communist Party. But I don't think people understand that in India, or most people outside, in India they know of, obviously, but Bengal and Kerala in particular, Communist parties have been ruling there since the 40s, I suppose, in the state governments. And then you have this phenomenon of the Maoist rebels.
Naxalites.
Yeah, the Naxalites. Are they related to the Communist Party at all? Can you explain?
See, I tell you. It's something very, very interesting. I'll add a third state into that for communists, that is Tripura.
Okay.
Tripura, the northeastern state.
Right.
Now, Tripura and Bengal. You see, Tripura and Bengal were two states where almost they had a consistency of 35 years of communist rule in the state.
Right.
Kerala, it kept changing in between. Sometime communists will come, sometime Congress will come. And but these two states had a consistency.
Yeah.
First communist lost heavily in Bengal, which is quite surprising.
Right.
And more surprising when they lost in Tripura. Because the chief minister there carries an image of a very honest chief minister. I'll say that. One of the very honest chief ministers in India, which India has seen. But there too they lost.
What does communism mean in India, in these states? It obviously doesn't mean Soviet communism.
I'll give you a crack shot what communism means in India.
Yes.
Communism means in India, by the leadership, that you talk of poverty, you raise the slogans for the poor, raise slogans for the poor peasants, and have a nice cozy life of your own. Keep getting dictates from outside. One of the major reasons for Indian communist failure, always at crucial times in Indian history, has been that they could not develop their own thinking.
Right.
In a very recent interview, one of the former comrades was with me in a TV interview, and he's the one who had taken me to the Communist Party during emergency days. I asked him a question. I said, comrade, learn some nationalism from China. Can you and China opposes that Hafiz Saeed and all those terrorists? China is in very good relations with Pakistan, who claims to defend Islam in the world. And at their home, China does to Muslims what suits China. Even bringing demographic changes.
Yes.
Now, on this, that comrade immediately reacted, well, every country has its own nationalism. I said, well, comrade, thank you very much. You have agreed today, because otherwise for you, nationalism is a bourgeois concept.
Yes. So, because the communists are critical of nationalism.
You talked of internationalism.
Yes.
You couldn't keep pace with the developing, you may say, capitalist economy.
Yes.
Okay, Marxism was relevant in a particular time, in a particular conditions.
Yeah.
I'll give you a other anecdote. I think the people will like this. Or if you feel you can edit it later on if you don't like. In West Bengal, under the communist government, there happened an incident in a small village called Nandigram, where the village lands were taken away from the poor peasants at a very nominal compensation and were being given to industrialists to put up an industry. So one of the younger comrades went and asked a senior comrade, comrade, what is this happening? How come you are snatching the lands of poor peasants and giving them to an industrialist to put up an industry over there? And the communist says, how long you have been in the Communist Party? He said, well, quite a few years now. You haven't understood Marxism till now? I said, what do you mean? He says, look, these peasants are the most reactionary retrograde class. That is why Stalin killed many in Russia. The revolution is brought by the working class. So we are snatching the land from these reactionaries, giving it to a capitalist who will establish an industry there. So the working class will be born there. And then we will teach revolution to this working class and will bring revolution over here. That's my anecdote for the Indian communists, you see.
Yes.
That they don't understand the ground reality. There was a time when they encouraged a lot of infiltration from Bangladesh side. The ration card used to be ready for them. Documents used to be ready for them. Make them Indian citizens.
Right.
Use your vote back. Now this Naxal group which you have talked of.
Yes.
Totally.
And before we even get to the details, is it correct that about 1/3 of the country is facing this armed rebellion by Naxalites? Is that?
No. It's not 1/3 actually.
Right.
There's certain pockets.
Okay.
Some pocket in Bihar, some pocket in, say, Odisha, Madhya Pradesh, some pocket in Maharashtra, and some little bit pocket in, I think, Bengal. Virtually it is finished now.
Right.
But when you look at the Indian map and you see these states and all, where these pockets are, so someone will say, oh, it's 1/3 of the country.
Right. Because I think The Economist in the UK reported that is about 1/3, which seemed...
Well, let the UK Economist reports, because UK economists and some of the Indian economists staying abroad,
yes,
they only sell India's poverty and India's negativities.
That is correct.
To get a chair or to get a scholarship over there or to sit on these universities.
Mm-hmm.
They'll keep sitting and talking of India's poverty and Indian things in some chairs in some university in US or England without having seen or visited the ground realities in India.
Yeah, it just
these economists will, these economists, what they do? If India develops this technology to shoot a satellite in the satellite, okay, instead of praising that India's technological development, they will say, oh, there are many who die poor with hunger in India, and look, India is wasting money in this.
That's right. That's right.
They go with that approach.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't care for such economists and such people. I am a very layman person. I don't go give any theories and all. What I'm talking is pure, sheer, ground level realities.
But yes, help us understand this.
Because I tell you one thing: unless these people sitting over there, they criticize and they shout against India, who is going to give them importance over there?
Yeah, exactly. But help us understand this Naxalite Maoist movement, because I've never really understood why it's so persistent and what they're after. I don't understand. And how important is it in politics?
See, it all started way back in the late 60s.
Yes.
67, 65. You see, after 62, there is a split in the Communist Party in India.
Okay.
The CPI.
With the war with China, because of the war with China.
After that, there's a split in that. So CPI is more controlled by interest from USSR. And CPM has more allegiance to the Chinese Communist Party at that time. Now within that comes up this group of Naxalites who don't believe in democratic participation.
Right.
So CPI, CPM, they both started participating in Indian elections and all.
Yeah.
And they say this is a bourgeois democracy and all. We're not going to participate and we have to win. We have to bring about a revolution in the country. And they go to this armed struggle kind of a thing. Now, what is their armed struggle? Understand this, please. Their armed struggle is looting a bank where the poor have deposited their money.
Yeah.
Their armed struggle is imposing levies on the poor villagers.
Yes.
Imposing their own taxes, putting up their own kingdoms. There's so much to it. I don't want to say that.
Yeah.
There's so much to that. I don't want to say that. Because as citizens, they have their right. But then fighting the armed forces and all.
Yeah.
They won't let roads develop in the forest regions. They won't let the government schools function in those regions. They won't let the government hospitals be established in those regions. For whom they are being established? For the poor and for the developing of the poor. So this Naxalism, which started as an ideology, has again become a power-centric, personal beneficiary approach.
I remember when V.S. Naipaul wrote his novel Magic Seeds. I think it was in like 2008, and he was talking about this, Naxalite movement and this intellectual who's lost and goes. I thought he was talking about something in the 70s, so long ago, and I didn't realize that it was that it's
No, no,
still...
no. You see, there is a reason. There is a reason. Today, it is not just the Naxalites.
Yes.
Naxalites were supported by China.
Uh-huh.
They had their weapons, all Chinese made, everything coming from there. Then the ISI of Pakistan started supporting them on 71.
Uh-huh.
And now there is a nexus between the Naxalite and the jihadis and the Pakistan ISI and the Kashmiri group, that all those forces which are anti-India, they are sort of working together as a clique in that sense to
Right.
go about it, which is
So,
unfortunate.
under the BJP government, has this problem intensified? Has it lessened? Has there been military action against it,
You
increased,
see,
or what?
military action has been there, force action has been there, backed up with development.
Right.
Yesterday's results only show that in regions of Chhattisgarh and some places where there used to be not even 2% voting in the democratic process, the voting percentage is shot up to 36%.
Right.
People came out to vote. And this happened in spite of the Naxals having given a call to boycott the elections.
Right.
And they tried to blast 1 or 2 polling stations.
Right.
Day before only, they blasted a mine, ED, on the road, in which the BJP legislator, his driver, and his 3 guards were killed. All 4 of them. So they have been trying that.
Yeah.
And it's a kind of a desperation also that when you are being tackled with.
And do they have support in India? I mean, from what Naipaul wrote in his book, many intellectuals support them, apparently. I don't know. Is that...
Well, those intellectuals I have been telling you, you see, Naxals have done their thing very well. You know.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I was the first one to coin this word in India, academic terrorism.
Academic terrorism.
Academic terrorism.
Yeah.
The terrorism is not only one way to fight, that you fight with the gun and all, but it's cyber terrorism also now.
Yeah.
There will be many aspects of that. So this is what Naxals have done over the years, that a certain amount of academia has been placed into that. And this academia, in the name of human rights and this and this, as I told you, that have a pseudo approach and biases, that they will talk on one, they will not talk on another. There they will close their mouth. In Kashmir very recently, the terrorists killed an 11-year-old boy. These terrorists had taken shelter in a house, and when they were surrounded, they were asked to surrender.
Yeah.
They didn't surrender, and they had been keeping that boy as a captive 11-year-old boy, and they slit his neck.
Mm.
Will you believe? Not a word of condemnation in India from these damned so-called secular intellectuals.
Yeah.
What positions they take? When it comes to triple talaq or something?
Yes.
Where are these feminists then?
That's right.
We are talking of feminism. Where are they? They are only meant just to go and deliver lectures in the Western countries against India.
Correct.
And without even understanding things. See, I was in Hague 2 years back, and a paper presented that. It was a Diaspora conference.
Yes.
One of the paper titles was Karwa Chauth in Indian Diaspora, Hinduizing the Diaspora women.
Right.
So I asked this young girl, I said, do you know why Karwa Chauth is celebrated? It's a fast, which women keep.
Yeah,
One
women
day.
keep for their husbands,
And some
the
puja.
welfare
Yeah,
of their husbands. And
husbands and all. She said, why should I know? It's anti-feminist. The woman is kept hungry throughout the day. I said, when then you don't know what it is, then what right you have to criticize this on just simple ground of anarchist ground?
Exactly.
I said, you are right, it started in Punjab. From where went into other places. Do you know the reasons why it started in Punjab? Why should I know? So why the hell are you reading on this thing? And then I told them, it started in Punjab. It started because Punjab was seeing invasions after invasions, and the men were getting killed. And if the women there pray that their men don't get killed, you call it anti-feminine.
That's right.
One.
And secondly, the origin of that, the story of Karwa Chauth, which is there, is that there is a debate between Parvati, Shiva's wife, and Vishnu, that who's strong, women or men. And Vishnu is insisting that women are weak. They go down and they saw this lady Karwa crying because the husband is dead. And Vishnu makes a joke of Parvati, ke, see, she can't live without her husband. And then Parvati gives her the power to re-insurrect the husband alive.
Right.
And Vishnu is trying all the powers to stop that. And this lady wins. The husband is re-insurrected to life. These are symbolic things.
Yes, of course.
But they show the women's power. They show what Parvati meant. And you ignore this story. And you only say just because the woman is fasting, so it is anti-feminist.
Exactly. Exactly.
This is fashionable.
That's right. That's right.
Academics and fashionable.
Yeah, they don't know what they're talking about. They don't.
What has been happening in the Naxal movement? That any tradition, anything which is India, I oppose many traditions and many rituals.
Uh-huh.
And I first try to understand them also.
Right.
Why they are. And recently, a very interesting find I found was that in the states of Hyderabad and Bhopal, during British times, where Nawabs were there, there was no beef. Cow slaughter had been stopped.
Right.
And it is only when the British came there, the British wanted to have beef, that they forced it to be started again in these states.
Right.
Otherwise, the Hindus and Muslims were in perfect harmony, staying together.
Exactly.
So many things come out of this.
Now, let me ask you to close up on the conversation. Now, this happened in elections around the world, all in Trinidad, in the States. I see it a lot. They always say, this is the most important election in history. Almost every election is the most important election. But what is your view about the Indian election going on right now? How important do you think it is? Do you think...
Well, Indian elections, elections importance is at both levels, international as well as national.
Yeah.
At the international level, its importance lies that the way India has emerged in the diplomatic relations in the last 5 years.
Right.
Summit of 2020 summit in South Asian region, SAARC, even UN, other places, and the kind of role India has been playing and the kind of relationships India has with both America, China, or even Russia, all three of them.
Yeah.
So India is playing a role at this level. And that role has definitely come with a political thrust of the government. I have my doubts that an opposition which is craving for power to come in will be able to play that role in India. Right. I don't know, today only the declaration is there that the Indian Prime Minister has been awarded the highest Soviet award, which they offer to any foreigner.
Mm-hmm. Oh, Russian.
Russians, not Soviet, sorry. The Russians have declared it today.
Yeah.
Sometimes my old communist days speak of the Soviet Union, but it's that has been declared. And secondly, the kind of ties which India is making at international level, not defense, but the ties for economic growth, the ties for development, the ties for sharing of expertise, whether it's the service sector or the manufacture sector, whatever is going on. So there India has a role to play and is playing a role. So it has its internal repercussions.
Right.
Plus India is a strong country. I don't foresee India as a strong country under the type of opposition which is trying to come to power.
Right.
That is the national level aspect, international level.
Yeah.
The second is the national level aspect. Some good things have happened in the last few elections. The caste was totally shed aside in the last elections in 2000. Again in state elections. Even in elections where Congress won or what. Our journalists do fantastic caste analysis. If this caste is going to vote for this and this caste of going for this, And sometimes they don't even know that the husband and wife coming from the same caste and same family, both of them are not voting for the same party. They've been voting for the other different parties. These things have been shed. Mind it that India has the largest number of young voters.
Mm-hmm.
Who was born in 21st century are going to be the first time voters in the country today.
Correct.
In these elections. And this youth has its aspirations. This youth of 21st century has not been trained as the youth of the last 50 years of the last century.
Yes.
That which should ask for crumbs and which should beg, okay, give me this solution or give me this grant or give me this grant and all that. This youth also knows that if a congenial environment is created for development and growth, this youth has the capacity to move ahead and forge ahead on its own initiative. People have been undermining the thinking of this youth. Some of them still think in terms of caste lines and this lines and that line. I was in a seminar very recently addressing on social philosophy of Baba Sahib in Varanasi. After the end of my lecture, I said one question, after they finished the question answer session, I said, I also have one question to you, my audience. There were more than 250 young undergraduate students over there. I said, how many of you are prepared to shed your caste loyalties and vote for developmental aspects? 98% hands went up.
Right. Because there are a lot of parties based on caste, and we're not talking about BJP Congress. You mean smaller parties? Is that what you mean?
Smaller parties, regional parties.
Yeah.
No, it is not that the caste doesn't function in national parties also.
Right.
We'll be critical here in that sense.
Mm-hmm.
Caste consideration do matter in national parties also. Whether it's Congress, whether it's BJP.
Mm-hmm.
But a break is taking place.
Right.
See, PM Modi doesn't himself come from a high caste, you know.
Sorry, say that again?
Modi himself doesn't come from a high caste.
That's right. He's not a Brahmin.
He's not a Brahmin.
Yeah.
No. He'll come as per Indian things, what we call the backward castes.
Right.
Okay. So that's why to give every analysis in terms of caste or community aspect, I don't agree to that.
Right.
Those can be possible. And I'm feeling, you see, 77 elections, you see, after the emergency. Where was the caste? People were making caste analysis. And even I tell you, if some place, if these things do matter in a little way, in some constituencies, the ultimate results balance them.
Right. So I mean, so where caste does matter, does it tilt toward BJP or Congress in any way? Like, is it upper class? I would say the liberal castes probably like Congress, but that's not the kind
you don't
type
treat
of
me as a
caste we're
liberal.
talking about.
You don't treat me as a liberal. I'm not with the Congress.
Well,
never been.
I don't consider liberal a compliment, so I would not want to call you that.
I call them Barbadi Walas now. Barbadi means destruction.
Yes, yes.
I call them the Tukle gang. Who raised the slogans? Ke India. The slogan was Bharat tere tukle honge inshallah, inshallah. In the name of Allah, they are saying,
yeah.
India, you will be cut to pieces.
Right.
That was the slogan raised. With a dance going on.
But like, do lower castes more support the Congress in some areas, or the BJP?
I think it work that way? Well, BJP had the largest number of members of parliament coming from the reserved constituencies.
Okay.
From the scheduled castes, scheduled tribes.
Mm-hmm.
So I won't agree on that kind of thing.
Yeah. No, I really don't know. I think it's probably very complicated.
Among the scheduled castes and some among the Dalits who are very vehemently opposed to BJP and Modi.
Okay.
Very vehemently opposed, and they have been working for not to vote for Modi.
Right.
But they are equally supposed.
Yeah. So there's splits. So within each caste, there's splits.
I said, even if it goes on at a result level, it splits down.
Right. Yeah. I've not seen that sort of results in whatever analysis I've looked at. I've not seen it as being extremely important. But I just want to know from your perspective.
No, from my point of view, let these, you see, I tell you, many of these channels and journalists, and the way they put up the debates, for them it is very spicy material,
That's right.
To talk of a caste or something.
Yeah.
I may not be knowing my caste, but they will make me realize this is your caste. Are you going to vote for your casteman or not?
Right.
This is what they are going to do because they think it sells. But what I'm finding is that the youth which I talked of,
yes,
that youth is hating these kind of analysis.
Yes.
And I'm pretty sure that even in these coming elections, this caste as a barrier or caste as a mobilizing factor, I don't think it will play any dominant role in that.
Right.
And it should not play. It should not play.
Do you have any predictions for the election?
I think the ruling party will stage a comeback.
Yeah. Do you think they'll keep their majority, or do you think they will lose it?
Well, you see, one thing about Indian elections is very interesting.
Yeah.
That even overnight elections change,
Yeah.
I don't rule that out.
Yeah.
But I think they will come with a comfortable majority along with their allies. Yeah. They will be able to make a comfortable dent in that sense.
So let me ask you then, if you think that there is a possibility that the election can swing where the Congress can make a lot of gains, if there is that possibility, why do you think that would be, given your very positive evaluation of the BJP? Why do you think that still that it's possible that the Congress can make a lot of gains?
You see, I tell you, the hostility to BJP among the people is not so much because of its policies or nationalism or patriotism, whatever you may call it.
Yeah.
The hostility to BJP has been because of some of its local candidates and local representatives.
Ah, right.
Okay. So in a state election like Rajasthan or Madhya Pradesh, where Congress won,
yeah,
that mattered a lot.
Right.
And even in surveys at that time also it was said, if this is state election, when it comes to the national election, we'll vote for Modi.
Right.
The media reporting those interviews and all those things. So it's a national election. Mm-hmm. And the Indian voter is not foolish like some earlier days. They know the realities.
Yes.
They're very shrewd and shrewd in the positive sense, and they're very understanding as to whom they have to vote for and how they have to vote for and when they have to vote for. So it's quite a vast kind of a thing which needs to be analyzed. And my analysis may be wrong.
Yeah, I mean, if there are a million voting booths, there are a million local issues that could affect.
I'll tell you. Last 4 months, even when this Pulwama was not there and the air strikes were not there, Balkot and all.
Yes.
When I was working for the museums, which I made in the Red Fort. So I was using these cabs. So without disclosing my identity, without disclosing what my political views are and all, I'll ask these cab drivers.
Yeah.
How much, whom are you interested in voting this time? I won't even say straight, whom are you going to vote for?
Yes.
Simply say, whom are you interested should come to power and all that. Now, will you believe my data?
Uh-huh.
Out of 102 such interviews, and these came from different parts of the country. Someone is from Rajasthan, someone from UP, someone Uttaranchal, someone Odisha, all this kind of stuff. One person from Odisha used choicest abuses against the ruling party and the Prime Minister.
Right.
Okay. 3 said, we will vote anyone who's winning against BJP.
Mm-hmm.
And 2 said, it doesn't matter to us. We are driving taxi, we'll be driving taxi. Whosoever comes to power doesn't make a difference to us. 96 all saying Modi.
Right.
And I probed them. I said, what has he done so much that you are voting for Modi? And stunning answers coming from them. And when they are coming from them, my respect for Indian voter has gone up more. One says, he put up GST. Sir, I'm very happy. I said, how does it affect you and why are you happy? People are, opposition is saying GST is a hoax and all that. He said, sir, by putting up this GST now, all these big businessmen, they can't cheat on taxes.
Mm-hmm.
They used to take sale tax from us, had bogus vouchers, and now they will have to pay income tax also. So if this is the awakening coming from a taxi driver who has not studied beyond 10th class, I'm happy to hear that.
Right. Well, this is going to be...
And that is my analysis was based on ground realities.
Yeah.
It's not based on these big poll surveys because some of these poll surveys also...
Oh, I
don't you conduct a survey, you get the answers. You know.
Yeah, exactly. I don't believe in polls at all. For decades, not only...
There was another person who was an expert. He made a very interesting comment, and I like this comment.
Yeah.
He said, we can go into the poll and give out an analysis that how much, up to what percentage votes will come to which party.
Mm-hmm.
But how these percentages will get converted into actual seats.
That's right.
That is a total tricky question.
Exactly. Because there's so much, and if you look at poll predictions and actual results over the years, it's just so flawed. I don't know how these companies stay in existence. That's a scam in and of itself, as far as I'm concerned. But yeah, I mean, I really, I think this is important. I think the world needs to be looking at this. As I said, it's important for the direction that the global community is going to take, I think. And India's development is extremely important for humanity as a whole. And these things need to be, I think, highlighted more. I do believe there's a prejudice and a hostility in the international media, and that needs to be overcome with more thoughtful analysis and more penetrating analysis. So I want to thank you for helping us with that.
Thank you very much, Kik, and I hope, this is what I wish, that the Western media looks at realities, looks at things in totality, and just doesn't go by the very few who very intentionally do something or preach something else. But thank you very much. It's a real pleasure being with you, and I hope there will be more occasions. We'll meet after the elections.
Yes, thank you. I look forward to it. I will be in India when the elections are resolved. The results.
Let's see whether my analysis come true or not.
That's right. So we'll be meeting in person, I hope.
Okay. Thank you very much, Kik. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, that's all for Independent Thought and Freedom this week. Please join us again next week. And in the meanwhile, make sure you subscribe, leave me a rating, and share this podcast with your friends. Thanks, and bye for now.